The Bestop PowerBoard NX automatic running boards are for those of you that have a four-door 2007 to 2018 JK that are looking for a retractable running board, a power running board, one that's going to flip down when you open the doors to give you a good usable step, and then flip up out of the way and out of sight when you're not using it. This is going to be a 3 out of 3 wrench installation. We're going to show you how to do it. It is going to be fairly involved. However, it's not as involved as some of the other brands out there, and that's something I'm going to get to in just a second. But first, when you're looking for running boards or side steps of any kind, you're really going to find two main categories: those that offer protection and usually aren't as good of a step, or those that are a great step but don't offer protection and in fact are a hindrance when off-road, because part of them being a good useful step is the fact that they hang down and away from the vehicle a little bit more than ones that do some protecting. This is not going to offer you protection. It is going to hang down nice and low to make a very good, useful step for you and your passengers to get in and out of your Jeep. But then when you close the doors and you don't need these, they're going to tuck up out of the way. Again, not offering a lot of protection, but not being as much of a hindrance off-road because they are tucked up out of the way. And also visually, you don't have a side step that's hanging down real low. Again, with a side step that's static, that isn't powered, that doesn't move like these ones do, you can't really have a step that is maybe halfway between where you need to step to and the ground, because that's just way too low. You can't be driving around like that all the time. This is allowed to come down very low, be a very, very useful step for you, and then get up out of the way when you don't need it. So the running board itself, the power board itself, is going to be an aluminum piece here. It has this textured coating on it, not just a regular textured black powder coating that's textured visually, but this is actually textured to the touch to give you a good grippy step. Even if there is water, rain, snow, mud, whatever it might be, you're gonna have good grip on this step. Of course, it does run all the way front to back, so both the front seat and the back seat passengers are going to be able to take advantage of this. Like most of the other powered steps on the market right now, this is going to come with a lighting kit, which is very convenient. It looks pretty cool, and it also allows you to make sure you can see exactly where you're stepping at night. This is going to be one of the hinge mechanisms. So this is going to be mostly an aluminum piece as well that's powder coated, all very well put together, all of the quality that you would expect from Bestop. Over here you have one of the motor assemblies. Again, you can just feel when you pick it up in your hand that it's heavy duty, it's strong, it's going to hold up well. These have up to a 600-pound carrying capacity, so they are going to be very, very strong for you. And again, you're going to have two of these hinges here on each side. You're going to get two of the steps themselves, of course, one passenger and one driver side, and then all of the wiring, the lighting, the motors, everything that you need to make this work. Now that is where we get into something that makes these a little bit unique. So obviously with something like this, there's a lot of wiring. You have to power the motors, but not only that, you have to give the signal from the doors to the running board. So when you open the doors, these automatically flip down. And what that usually requires is pulling out some of the interior, flipping up carpets, pulling off interior panels, finding wires, tapping wires, whether you're cutting and splicing or using a vampire clip, whatever it might be. These are a little bit unique in that, yes, you still have to power this motor, that still needs to get power, but the actual signal from the door to the running board happens wirelessly and happens with a magnetic setup. So you put one sensor on the door jamb, one on the door, and that is what indicates to the system that the doors are open or closed. And that signal is, as I said, wirelessly transmitted to the brains of this operation. So not only do you not have a wire going from the body to the door, and not only are you not tapping the factory wiring that senses when the doors are open or closed, but you're not running anything from that area to the brain. That all happens wirelessly. So that's something that's pretty unique about this setup. And one of the best parts about it is it doesn't drive up the price anymore. These are pretty much the same price as the other versions of the powered steps that you'll find on the market, right around that $1,300 price tag. And they're very high quality, and they have that wireless aspect to them that make the install a little bit easier and a little bit cleaner. Also means you're not hacking up the factory wiring harness, which if you're like me, you don't like doing anyway. So these have a lot going for them. And as I said, especially for the price, you would expect to pay a premium for that wireless technology and just for the quality that you get from a company like Bestop. But these are very, very fairly priced, especially for what you're getting. If you're looking for a powered side step and you're looking at some of the competition, I would take a second look at these, especially for that wireless tech that make the install that much easier. Speaking of the install, it's still gonna be a 3 out of 3 wrenches. You are gonna have to do some drilling. You are gonna have to do some wiring. Even though you don't have to do wiring for those sensors, you do have to still power these. So there is still going to be a good bit to the installation. Certainly not something you cannot do in your driveway if you choose to, but of course also no shame in taking these to a shop and having them install them for you. Either way, we're gonna show you how to install them right now.
Tools used for this install are 3/8 impact gun, short 3/8 extension, 5mm Allen wrench, 10mm socket. All right, the first step is you're gonna wanna open up the wiring harness and you need to find the fuse and we need to remove the fuse. I'm just gonna pull out on it. All right, next thing we're gonna do is open our hood up to gain access to our battery. Next thing we're going to do is take our positive and negative wires off of our wiring harness and connect them to the positive and negative terminals of our battery. Now make sure you have your fuse removed. We don't want to send power to the rest of the wiring harness. This will be the very last step to reinstall our fuse. So I have a 10mm socket. I'm going to remove the nut on our battery terminal here. And I will attach the eyelet. And we'll do the same thing for the negative. Next thing we're going to do is take our control box and plug it into our main wiring harness here. Once we do that, we're going to use the 2 supplied 7-inch long zip ties and zip tie it to our main wiring harness of the vehicle right here. And make sure you push this in as far as you can so that the locking tab's fully engaged. You want to hear that click. Next thing we're going to do is take the longer leg of our wiring harness and route it behind the engine here, and it's going to get us down. We're going to run along the frame rail of the Jeep to get it down to where the side steps are going to be mounted to. All right, once we've got it over to the driver's side, we can pick a spot in here and drop our wires down. We just want to make sure we keep it away from our exhaust. Next thing we're going to do is locate our controller module in our box, and we're going to plug it into the 4-pin connector on our wiring harness. And in the same box that this controller was in, you're gonna have some 14-inch long zip ties. And we're gonna find a good spot under here to get this up and out of the way. All right, next thing we're gonna do is mount our door sensor. So we're gonna peel off the 3M backing tape here, and what we're going to do is come on the inside of our door and line it up with this notch right here. We're going to line the bottom of the sensor up with the bottom of the notch on the hinge, and we'll push. All right, after this we need to get the magnet mounted on the hinge itself here. And take the magnet, and there's also a magnet holder right here that we'll put on last. And I'm gonna put the magnet on our hinge. And I'm gonna test the door, opening and closing it to see where this falls. All right, once you've got it lined up, we can throw the magnet holder right on here. All right, next thing we're gonna do is take our idler bracket here and attach it to the pinch weld of our vehicle. So we're gonna use the supplied 3/8 hardware and get these started in here. All right, once you've got both bolts started, we can go through and tighten these up. And I'm just gonna leave these somewhat loose for now. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is attach the rear motor assembly. I'm gonna get one hole started in the back. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is attach our torsion bar to the front linkage and the rear motor linkage. Now make sure you grab the correct torsion bar. They're labeled D and P for drivers and passenger. And what we're gonna do is slide a sleeve over our torsion bar. And then we're gonna line up our holes on our front linkage here, slide the torsion bar back over, and we're gonna get a bolt started in here. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is take our wiring harness and get it routed to the back motor here. And once you have it somewhat routed to the way you want it, we can go ahead and plug it in. The other wire we have hanging here is for our LED light. All right, so we are now ready to put our side step into place. And last but not least, we are going to stick our LED lights on here, and we're going to peel our 3M backing tape off. We'll stick these guys right on here, some pressure, and we'll route the plug back behind our motor linkage here and plug it right in. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the front here. Peel our backing tape off. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up our review and install. Be sure to check out more at extremeterrain.com.